Hello and welcome to Dupe, the mysterious movie pitching podcast with a twist. Each member of today's podcast has been given the same movie or TV title, some time to prepare, and has come to the table to pitch their own unique take on that title. We'll be hearing 2 pitches before the break and 1 afterwards. It's after the break that we'll be hearing a special pitch from the Dupe. The Dupe is the person at the table who has not been given the title in advance, and they will have to improvise their idea at the end of the show, following everybody else's. Welcome to Dupe co-host Dan. Dan, without giving anything away, how are you feeling about today's title?
Oh, I'm ecstatic about it.
Good.
Yeah.
I have to say, I haven't. This is one of those ones that came title first rather than idea first, and I don't have an idea for it myself. So I'm looking forward to the 3 of you to.
That's brilliant. That's great.
See, for me, it's like I'm okay to not have an idea, right? I'm very blessed and lucky to fall back on that, to go, I don't have anything today. But
I mean, that's unfair. I do have an idea. An idea.
I'm looking forward to fleshing it out. And this is really, honestly, it's exciting to come to it not having anything in mind at all. I haven't even, tried to add anything to this title at all. I haven't even thought how I would approach it. So I'm really excited to hear also Ryan. Ryan, you're the Dupe today. How have you prepared for today? You don't know the title, but how have you prepared for today's episode?
I've prepared by knowing we're recording today, so getting myself into a place of not having to do anything else. So just played loads of video games, and I've got currently, while recording this episode, I've got a curry bubbling away, so I can munch that down when I get back in victory, because my idea would be so good off the top of the head that,
Well, I love that. What a wonderful day you've had, Ryan, to prepare. And did you use a? Hang on.
That's perfect timing, though, Dan. I mean, talk about the trials and tribulations of how little time you had to prepare.
Preparing a pitch whilst my child has been helping me go shopping. Did you use a blood dragon face pack for the day? Whilst I was having mud
don't know. What is a blood
thrown in my
dragon face pack?
Did you? For many of you that know me, know about #skincare Saturdays. I always wake up on a Saturday morning, put a face mask on. That gets me set for the day. Wash that off, take a shower, get rid of all of that, and crack on with my Saturdays.
I had my face licked at 8 o'clock in the morning. If that helps, does that count?
He doesn't even have a pet, by the way, either. Yeah,
that's literally my son. That's what he does.
Definitely counts.
It definitely counts. It's one hell of an alarm clock.
Well, that's my wash for the day.
So that voice you're hearing is our guest today, Ieva. Ieva, how are you feeling? You can't tell us the title, but you can tell us how you are feeling about it today.
I'm excited. I think this is going to be really fun. Got some crazy ideas, so we'll definitely work on that.
I'm looking forward to it. Often some people will come along and they'll go, I have one main idea, one backup, or I just have one idea, or I have... Where does it fall? Is it one main idea and a couple of sprinkles, or is it like a load of ideas? Where are you at on the spectrum? Dupe spectrum.
I have one main idea with lots of weird little ideas inside it.
That's exciting! Like a pregnant spider of an idea.
Yes,
essentially.
Yeah, exactly that.
That is an absolutely horrible,
isn't it? It's horrible. Yeah, I said it on purpose to make me squirm. That's when you know it's bad. So sorry about that. But it's complimented by the I just want to comment as well. It sucks to be everybody at home, because I just wanted to comment on the amazing yarns and colours that you've got behind you. It's the most amazing view I've ever seen. Is there? So obviously you're creative by nature. You make wonderful yarn creations, which we'll talk about later on. Did that feed into your process today? Is it? I can see millions of little different colours of threads, and I can hear you talking about millions of different ways it can go. I'm feeling there's some sort of connection there.
I suppose so. I think this is just my padded cell where I went a little bit mad.
We definitely
because it is an entire wall of wool.
We should let Ieva in for a stitch in time. That got yarn based, didn't it?
I know,
yarn based.
Maybe we should ask to have commissioned one of the characters from
that would be amazing.
That'd be good.
That would be very cool.
We'll see. Maybe it has to come back as a wild card. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well. I am Sean, your peerless moderator, and at the end of which we've decided I'm only peerless in the fact that nobody else moderates this. So it's not a lie when I am a peerless
Unique.
moderator.
You're unique.
In /Dupe. But at the end of the episode, I have the wonderful honour of selecting a winner to go through to the next heat. And we will be telling you at the halfway point of today's episode what happens with that winning idea at the end of this season.
So, Sean, what is a /Dupe?
Oh, well, listen, I'm genuinely surprised you asked, but I will tell you what it is. Since you did ask, I'll have to, won't I? A /Dupe is a rough, early version of a film used in post-production. It's an unfinished foundation of what a finished film can become. So that's basically what we're going to give you today on the /Dupe podcast. We're going to bring you at least the foundation of what a finished film could be. That is our promise on /Dupe. It's not a promise. But that is our guarantee. It's not guarantee either. But that is what we will try our best to do.
It's our intention.
It's our intention
to do.
Yes, that's very sort of holistic. I like it. Very modern. This is, we're going to set our intention. That's to bring you a /Dupe today. So with that in mind, I can reveal that today's /Dupe title is Down the Hatch. It is Down the Hatch. Right, Ieva, you've drawn the short straw. I'd like to hear your pitch for the /Dupe title, Down the Hatch.
All right, so Down the Hatch. I'm thinking it's set in St Ives or some kind of little touristy town, and teenagers have started going missing. So kind of opening with maybe a missing poster or a news report, that kind of thing, where just touristy teenagers have started going missing. And you get to a quirky curiosities shop just down the high street. You go into this curiosities shop, and it's got a monocled grumpy owner tinkering with his clockwork toys, and you can see he's getting frustrated because people keep interrupting his work, and he's just one of those typical kind of grumpy, owns a shop, doesn't really like people. And
this job would be great if it weren't for the customers, that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. Very, very much the kind of opinion of people who work in tourist towns.
Sure.
Or just
especially
the
in
industry.
Cornwall. Yes, 100%. So you kind of go into this shop and you see families, and especially with teenagers who want to touch everything and just kind of pick stuff up and put it down in the wrong place, and he eventually gets frustrated and goes up to this family and the teenager and goes, "Oh, I've got something that you'll be interested in. It's just down the hatch." And there's a hatch at the back of the shop that goes into exactly.
Would he actually say? He'd literally say the words "down the hatch"?
I don't think he would, but he would indicate that go down there. You'll be more interested in the stuff down there, you go down into this basement, and there's kind of a shelf of ship in a bottle type dioramas. So there is one that is a ship in a bottle, but there's various other little dioramas in these bottles. And he just leaves, and so this kid's like, okay, starts touching things, uncorks one of the bottles and gets sucked in.
Okay, that's cool.
Nice.
And has to, and there is many different dioramas, so it could actually be a pirate ship, or I think that this would probably lend more to a mini series instead of just a film. So this kid gets sucked into, say, a ship and encounters all the ship's characters and just has to survive. And then more kids kind of have this similar experience where they go in and get sucked into a different world. So I've just listed a load of random scenarios that could happen. So, for example, actual pirate ship, or a medieval farming town, or a castle of an evil wizard. or a mental hospital, or an exact replica of the town, but no people.
So that's creepy. Yeah.
It's so creepy, right? So they just have to survive. And then something happens. So you've seen kind of bits of these kids trying to survive in these different scenarios, and then something happens, like maybe a small earthquake or some kind of movement happens that these bottles get smashed, and all the worlds kind of come apart and merge together. So these kids start to meet each other, and they start interacting and go, right, how do we get out of here?
So I thought you were going for like evil After Dark Mr. Ben. That's where I thought you were going, where it'd be like each adventure would be like something's going on and they have to get into each bottle. That's where I thought you were going with this. But the idea of the melding of the worlds together is really cool.
Thank you.
What's the tone for this, Ieva? Is it like dark?
Yes.
Young adult.
It's
super dark.
It's
like Stranger
dark,
Things dark.
Probably not quite that dark. Have you seen
like Terry Gilliam dark? Sort of still a little sort of like black comedy in there. Little sort of cartoon. Will it have a cartoony sort of edge? Like,
possibly.
Or will it be?
I was thinking, have you ever seen The Magicians? So again, weird Amazon Prime show. But that's...
No, we're talking about weird Amazon Prime shows, aren't we? Yeah.
It's kind of that tone. It is dark and a little bit fantasy comic-y type, but probably does need some kind of light, humorous undertones. But generally, it's quite dark. So I like the idea of all these really very different worlds and aspects of those getting merged together. And it turns out that they have to find kind of there's an artifact from each world that is the reason that they're living worlds inside these bottles. So there's kind of a magical talisman or something that makes these things possible. And
would that be in the real world, or would that be in the worlds of the bottles?
In the worlds themselves. So it's like a seed that has flourished this world, and they figure out that they have to collect all of them from each different world to somehow click together, and that creates a portal for them to get out of it. The end.
Dot until season 2. Yeah.
As worlds get merged, when the bottles break, are they still miniature worlds that have now crashed into each other on the floor of the shop, and then we zoom into sort of them in there?
Yes, the idea I had in my head was they all just kind of collected on the floor, and either the shopkeeper just hasn't noticed, or he's cleaned it up and just swept it up in a dustpan and brush and chucked it in a corner somewhere.
Maybe he's been broken into. The event that causes them to break is that someone's come into the shop and assaulted the shopkeeper, and he's knocked the bottles over in the sort of the furore, and then they've kidnapped him and taken him away.
Yeah,
and the bottles
absolutely.
are still left on the shop because he's the only one who really knows about them, right?
Yes.
So that leaves these children stuck there.
And there's a question of whether actually he knows that that's happening.
Maybe he's arrested by the police because all the kids are gone missing in his shop.
Yeah.
And in the arrest, the policemen knock the bottles off.
Yeah, because they're not going to care, are they?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Do you think he's doing it to punish these kids? He's doing it knowingly, the shopkeeper.
Well, that's the question, and I maybe you don't even answer that. It's just they go missing. He doesn't really care. He's gone. Oh, they've probably left and just hasn't noticed, or does he know? And he's actually some kind of evil wizard.
And maybe all these kids have been naughty in some way.
Yeah, they've moved his stuff around.
Punishment for them.
Yeah, how dare they? Yeah.
They've picked stuff up and put it in the wrong place, and he's just got annoyed with it, gone down the hatch.
Are we gonna? So does that mean we're gonna have like a sort of Lego Movie style thing where the villain, the evil magician in these worlds, the evil wizard, he's the same actor as the shopkeeper, or are we drawing a hard line between these two worlds? Like, sort of, where do you fall on that? You know, like how it was Will.
Like that.
Will
I like
Ferrell
that a
plays the
lot.
dad.
Storyline,
Will Ferrell
yeah.
plays, in Lego Movie. Will Ferrell plays Lord Business. He also plays the dad. There's
like in Sucker Punch with the old bloke is in every single one. He's like the one that gives them the orders, isn't it? I can't remember.
Yeah,
David
Glenn,
Carradine,
Glenn,
I think
Scott
his name
Glenn.
is.
No, it's Scott.
Oh, Glenn
Scott
Scott,
Glenn,
yeah.
I think, or Glenn Scott. I can't remember. Yeah. So are we going to have that? Yeah, you think like do we want to merge the worlds, or do we want to draw a line between them?
Well, they are all connected, so I think actually merging the worlds is a good idea, because obviously they, a fragment of each creates a portal home. So yeah, they're definitely related. Actually, maybe he could be a character in each of them, not necessarily a main bad guy, but he could be, that old guy on the street that you pass.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's in there somewhere.
Okay, and these this kind of dark worlds, when they merge, this is what I found really interesting, because when you first talked about all the worlds in the bottles, I did think, well, all of the things you listed, how amazing would it be to see them all in the same place? So I loved it when you were like, they all get smashed together. I was like, yeah, of course, that's how you make it amazing. Of course, because that's such a great idea. But when these worlds merge, does it make it? I suppose what I'm asking is, do they gel? Does it feel like, for example, just an example, the patients from the asylum, do they find a new lease of life on the ship, tending to the pirate ship? Or these worlds merging, does it throw everything into chaos? Which, are we going to go positive towards the more of the Jumanji type route where things are dark but they sort of work out? Or are we going to go down the route of like, no, this is sort of weird and corrupt and is a creeping evil pervading everything, and it's just getting worse. It's collapsing, So where would you take it?
I was definitely thinking more of the jarring. Everything doesn't quite fit together. It's all more confusing, and I was definitely going with the darker route.
I do like that.
So I've got a question about the characters. So if we're saying it's a sleepy, like St. Ives style town, those small towns, people, a lot of the kids know each other. So is it going to be a case of the first kid that we follow that goes down the hatch, and then they go into their world, and then when the worlds collide, are they going to be like Johnson, who's like a pirate king or whatever, because they, and they were like the quarterback, but they know who they are, and so they have to have this facade of like having to this persona that they've cultivated in that world, that they're gonna know who they really are in the real world. Is that because I assume some of the teenagers would know each other at least?
Yeah, so because they were all tourists, they weren't from the town.
Fine.
I did think they probably wouldn't know each other. However, I remember being at school and all my friends talking about going on holiday to Cornwall. So there could be an aspect of actually they know each other from their hometown, but they're not from St. Ives or this little village.
I mean,
so spinning off of that. Oh, sorry, Ryan, go on, mate.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I've genuinely had occasions where my housemate has gone on holiday, stayed at a hostel, and then has been chatting to this guy who's like, oh yeah, I grew up in Aylesbury. Oh yeah, I know Ryan. And just like, and they completely like on the same pub crawl together. So yeah, I totally understand that there could potentially be a chance meeting of two worlds, but in a holiday destination, because it does draw a lot of people to it.
I've had it a few times. I've been in various places and walked past somebody going, I know you. You're from so and so. So it does happen weirdly often as well.
So spinning off of that, then what would be the time period? So would people have been going missing in this curiosity shop for 100 years, or would it have only been happening the last few years? And so with that in mind on the timeline, would it be a Jumanji where if you're trapped in there 100 years ago, you've aged, or you haven't aged, or how does that work? Have you thought about that aspect of it?
I hadn't really. I'd say probably 10 years that people have been going missing.
So it's been happening for about 10 years. These kids have been going missing. So when the worlds collide and the kids meet each other, are they going to have aged at all? That's an interesting sort of. It's one of those questions you don't think it matters, but actually it's sort of one of those little logical questions that you think, an audience they're gonna either love it or hate it. They're gonna want to understand it straight away, right? So are these kids aged if they'd gone missing 10 years ago? Are they 10 years older?
No, I don't think they have aged. I think they're kind of trapped in this little time bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another kind of aspect of it where actually it could be they're very small worlds, so there might be a lot of repetition, a lot of deja vu.
Okay.
There are only certain parameters that there's only a stretch of sea for this pirate ship to be in. There's only, I don't know, there is no land past the end of the garden and the castle.
It's the asylum on the rock in the middle of nowhere sort of thing, in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. God, that's what I would. So if we were saying, okay, let's commission this, let's move forward with this. That's what I really love. The idea that you sort of take this little world, because it's got a really classic feel to it. This idea of a ship in a bottle, or a world in a bottle diorama, but it also plays into the sort of more modern repetition of video games. How you can sort of do the same sort of video game. You can load and save, or it can reload you. So I sort of like that as an idea that, I don't know what, like, you meet the sea captain, or you meet, he's been a first mate for 10 years, and they've just gone up and down the same strip, but they would know more things about the details in this small loop.
Are they all mini Groundhog Days, or Groundhog Weeks? Does it reset after a period of time, or are they, because some of those kids might have been in there for years, right? Like real time years.
Mm-hmm.
So are they, by the time they get there, are they the people that the other kids come along? So rather than it being a week that's repeated, they're now the characters that the new kids come across. Then the old captain's died off, and then one of the kids that's been there for 40 years has now become the new captain.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because he's been there for so long, or she's been there for so long.
Yeah.
So they assume
these.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, day by day you become more and more part of the diorama, until then another kid comes in, and then they end up being part, like the Dread Pirate Roberts, effectively.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but
ends up being one of the kids that has turned into the evil magician.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
From exposure.
Well, if somebody, I mean, you could say that somebody, let's say some sort of person with some sort of otherworldly power that could create these worlds in the bottles. The shopkeeper could be related to that person, so it could have been maybe the shopkeeper's brother that he enslaved in the worlds, who then was the first person to find out how to escape. He's now the person who owns the shop, and there's some sort of twisted circle in that. I'm just trying to think of how you can have that sort of theme. I personally do, and of course it's up to you, Ieva, whether you want to go with this, but there is something I really love in the fact that, partway through the series, the characters who you expect are almost the antagonists or the villains or the characters that are in these loops, you do start to see the cracks that they weren't always in here. They used to be out there. And then it adds another dimension of whatever you want. So there's a bit of hope in there that maybe they can free some of these people, but there's also a real undercurrent of dread that they may have the same fate if they don't get out.
Yeah,
so it
I
raises the stakes.
I love a good twist and and some big reveal that you're really not expecting. Yeah, I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
And then could it take like a Flight of Dragons? I don't know if you've ever seen the Flight of Dragons. Amazing animation from I think it must be the 80s. Anyway, this kid gets sucked into effectively like a fantasy adventure Dungeons and Dragons game. And by the end, he's really fallen in love with and become part of the whole world. But to get out of the world and to defeat the final baddie, he has to disavow magic and fantasy by telling them that science exists. And so anytime the final showdown is the big bad wizard shouting things about magic and him shouting like Pythagoras theorem back at him, until he eventually, and he knows by doing so he's going to remove himself from the game and never be able to hang out with his friends anymore or the people that he's really learned to love, and then he gets extradited from the game. So I
So
wonder
it's kind of
whether there's some of
bittersweet
that.
in a way.
Yeah, bittersweet, because some of these kids will have then been there for ages, or at least made friends there. Which is kind of true of like kids that are going to a hotel, a sort of holiday destination where they don't want to go. Their parents are going because they get to be by the seaside. They don't know anyone. It's, you know, there's the analogy of making new friends in a new world type thing, and maybe there's a bit of that. And then to leave the world, you almost have to destroy it, don't you? And that's sad. And maybe that's why some children have been stuck there, because they don't want to. They've enjoyed it more than their real world.
Yeah.
The first thing they'd have to do, right? I don't know if you guys agree, but it would be to break the cycle that they've been going through. So the first thing, so you would take the ship, and it would be the most difficult thing to do against the nature of all of these people who are on the ship, to take it from the loop or from the world of the bottle and sail it to the world of the asylum. To sail it to, you could the worlds would smash together, but each little unit would not want to go out of its loop, even though it was able to. I don't know.
It's probably the only way they're able to free themselves because of this new thing.
Yes.
They have the ability.
Yeah, so I thought actually they're forced into it, that they're forced out of these loops because something appears. So if they're on the ship, they encounter this island of the mental asylum, and it is there in front of them. They can't escape it. They can't.
Right. Yeah.
They just have to interact with it because it is there.
Yeah. So interestingly, dramatically, at first they could be like, "No, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Like we've sailed these seas for 700 or 800 days, and there's no asylum out there. There's nothing at all." And then slowly because there's almost like a sort of breaking down that has to occur in these characters before they almost admit that these worlds have sort of smashed together. Okay, so they have to fit these things together. They're a band of. They have to sort of. This is the quest. These band of kids. Can you give me some like cast examples? I want to feel the sort of where you're going with because there's so many different kinds of sort of young people you can put into movies. You can go down like Power Rangers tried to, the reboot movie went sort of like, they tried to go woke and cool, but they still go like too flashy and too sexy, or, you got Jumanji, we're just like, forget all of them. We're going to put some A-listers in there now. And like, so it's like, there's loads of different routes you can go down to bring sort of young people to an audience to galvanize around the story. What are you thinking? What's in your head?
Well, I like the idea of kind of unknown actors. So, no one super famous, and just a variety of completely different people, because we aren't just, a bubble of a certain type of person. Humanity is so varied that, just you can have a bookish one, and you can have some kind of, I don't know, popular kid, and but just a complete variety. Definitely kids that wouldn't necessarily encounter each other in normal circumstances. And
would that be that? I mean, I assume that would be part of the drama as well. It would be there, or would they sort of just? I think I'm interested in whether young people just get on with it. Would they just get on with it? Would they still dredge up the sort of drama that we normally see in these teen dramas about young kids, like, you're the jock, I'm not friends with the jock, and you're the nerd, I'm not friends with the nerd. They all have the same voice in this world. Yeah, sure. Would you? Is there an interesting spin on that drama, I suppose, is what I'm saying. Like, you want a little bit in there. You want to stare it down that there are lots of different people that are in this world together. But is there a way of making that sort of, I don't know, slightly less obvious, slightly more interesting? Is there something to say about? I don't know. I'm talking out loud here. I'm wondering.
I'm not sure. Maybe certainly like the kids that have been in there for a long time, they've gone past that adjustment phase. They're just, let's get on with it. Okay, something new's happened, but something new happened before. We know how to adjust. Let's get on with it. And then maybe the most recent ones still in shock from the first time it's happened. Yeah. And so they're resisting, and then maybe there's one that's just so complacent and stuck in their way. Now they're stuck in their ways of their little diorama that they're resisting everything.
There is scope for it being a bit more interesting, isn't there? These sort of dynamics, in a way, sort of seeing these sort of younger people be shocked, be scared, be worried about their interactions with each other, being worried about like where they. Like, I think that's genuinely interesting to me to sort of see, because there are lots of dramas that dig deep into, the different facets of what it's like to be an adult and all the different, the rainbow nuance of that. But with a lot of shows about young people, they're put into these boxes and then they're kept there. I watched Stand By Me the other day, actually, again. I just rewatched it, and I was sort of quite amazed, genuinely. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I was actually quite amazed at how non-archetypal the characters felt and looked. So the one who sort of had the most amount of strife in his life, he had curtains and glasses, and he was like what you might associate, I think, typically what cinema tells you is the nerd. But this kid was the ferocious one. He was the unhinged one, and I sort of like that. The kid from a troubled home was the softest. He was the most earnest and the sweetest, and I thought like that was really powerful to me. And I think we've almost gone backwards since then. In the way that we show young people. And there's not as much nuance in it anymore.
My question that I guess links with that is, how are the worlds fashioned? Like, are they, and this is like the 2 a.m. super high thought, but it's like if they're like medieval England or wherever it is, right? And then this person comes in. I read a Reddit thread that was like, I'm going to learn how to make penicillin just in case I get teleported back into the past. So are these fully functioning worlds? And then a kid comes in and is like, oh my God, this is only the 80s. I can invent Google. And then sort of like do that. Is that something that happens? Or is it only these like very self-contained ideologies?
I think they're reasonably self-contained. As I say, there have to be limits to these worlds because they are so small, they're so contained, they are just a bubble, they're not a fully formed Earth world. They're just like a village in a bubble. So there's definitely going to be, it'll be a shock. Modern kid comes into this environment. But I don't think inventing something like that would really work.
So I want to know two things. I want to know what is the arc for season 2 and what's the arc for season 3, because these are the sort of things you got to know coming into the writers' room.
Yeah, if you want to pitch a miniseries, they always want to know there's a little bit of longevity in it. Even
surely season 1 is each world, and season 2, like the end of season 1 is when it gets knocked off and all the worlds clash together, and season 2 is that workout. Surely, you can't introduce these things.
And then what's season 3?
Yeah, what's season 3? Now that I'm interested in.
To be completely honest, I thought it would just end with them.
Limited series.
It was going to be a limited.
Unless there's a 3-season deal, all right?
I mean, it'll be the worlds colliding, and then
is it going to have trying to get out? Do they ultimately all want to get back to the real world?
Yes. Yeah.
That would be your season 3. I reckon.
As I say, they have to find out
if they
each artifact and collect them up, piece them together, get a portal home.
Okay. And so I respect that. I respect that it's only a limited miniseries. But when we kick you off as showrunner and bring in another writer to do a second and third season, I'm hoping that we tie that yarn in. I'm hoping that like the worlds, the shop is being demolished, and all of the bric-a-brac, or maybe there's an earthquake, as you said earlier on, and all of the bric-a-brac and things from above, they all come through, and there's something about the style that changes, something about like, I don't know. There's something to do. I'm just seeing yarn. I'm seeing a yarn world. I know I'm revisiting Stitch in Time, but I'm thinking that maybe things can invade their worlds that they're more self-contained, but they're invaded by one or two aspects of the other worlds, rather than all the worlds colliding for like something like a second or third season. Instead, it's a one world with one thing in it that shouldn't be there, and that thing is like the monolith from 2001, and it's corrupting or changing everything around it. I don't know. I'm just Just trying to see how we can squeeze some more money out of this, Ieva. Now that we've got all these ratings through the roof, people are watching it. It's the Amazon original series of the week. Everybody's loving it. I'm just seeing what more we can do with it. I like it. Okay. I would still love to know who's in it. But if you bring some fresh faces to us, I think that's cool, right? Like people that these fresh young actors that we've never seen before. I suppose I'd want to know if you're gonna. What sound are you bringing to us? What are you going to give us? Like are we going to have a soundtrack for each one? Are we going to have like a big Lord of the Rings style fantasy score? What do you hear when you see the idea in your head? That's my final question.
I was definitely imagining more kind of big orchestral, kind of very fantasy soundtrack. Almost certainly different for each world. So we'll get Hans Zimmer on there and really get the big brass sounds obviously.
And what happens when they get out then? These teenagers, these young people, they've gone through all of these worlds. Do they leave the worlds better, or do they leave them and never look back? What happens when these people save themselves from this fate?
I think these worlds collapse. They've already started collapsing because the ships are broken. They're merging. They're collapsing in on themselves. So I think that it's kind of escape before it consumes them and just destroys them completely.
Love it. Well, thanks for that, Ieva. That was interesting. I know you were worried about whether it was too crazy. I hope you don't mind me saying that in the break. But the thing is, as you'll know, as anyone who's listened to Slash Do before, that was a perfectly normal one. I mean, I want to point you in the direction. Johnny DiGirolamo is one of our good friends. His was bonkers, right? I love him, and his idea was fully off the wall. But then he has recommended some really fascinating and interesting and weird films to me over the years. So I can see where he's coming from with his ideas. And we embrace the weird. And it definitely wasn't too weird for us. I thought that was a fantastic idea.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate you bringing it to us today. Dan's down the hatch. I'm interested.
So this is so interesting. So as I was listening to Ieva's, I was like, how can you have one title that leaves so much open to the world, and both of us basically come up with a kids' adventure story? Although I think yours being sort of darker is definitely helpful. So I had a couple of ideas. I'm going to do a Ryan. I had a couple of ideas to start with. And the first one was really just a tagline. I want to say the other one's more than that. So the first thing I thought was Down the Hatch was a film that was floated and was in production but got stopped because Inner Space came out.
Right.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Inner Space?
Yeah, they shrink a spaceship down and go into somebody's body, right?
Yeah, it goes into someone's body, right?
Yeah.
And I think what happens is he gets put into this astronaut or this person, this scientist, but then he kisses a woman or something, or the other way round, and it goes into the woman's body.
Okay, right.
Anyway. I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
So that's a working title, you think, and then it was sort of changed in pre-production until it was something else.
So someone gets, and it was a shrunk thing, but I thought it could only go really so far without running over Inner Space.
Both physically, literally, and
because it would be a mini submarine, of course, as well, wouldn't it? They get shrunk, so you
of course,
and hatch.
Yeah.
So instead,
Ryan's crossing that off, by the way. He's crossing off his Dupe ideas, going, "Oh no, I can't go into things."
I had a Goonies style adventure because we haven't had a good Goonies style adventure. So, to be fair, I went in the summertime when we were allowed to. We went to a drive-through cinema. We thought we'd take my little one to go and see a film. So we went to go and see the Goonies because we thought, that's a good childhood adventure. I can't remember that. And it's only 3 minutes in before all the swear words started hitting, and I love the Goonies. I remember it being one of my favourite films when I was a kid, and now as I've grown up, I'm like, wow, why?
Yeah,
that's controversial.
I don't think it's aged as well as I mean, but I think it's also, did Richard Donner direct it? The guy who did Superman. So, like, I think it's sort of an unusually adult film, or rather, not children's film, right?
Yeah, it's weird. Goonies. It's so strange, and it like doesn't really make sense either. Like it's like if one of our pitches got made into a film but didn't like get developed. It just went from pitch to film. Like great ideas, but none of it makes sense. So
thanks, Dan.
Great. So I'm going to get so many @s in the socials for that.
mostly from me.
Anyway, mostly from you. Goonies, great. Right, so I thought we haven't had one that in like a kids show. We've had all the Potter movies, which people have like embraced as their childhood things, but nothing lunatic. Do you know what I mean? Nothing like completely off the wall. So I thought we'd go for that. And that's what we go for. And I want it to be basically the idea of the kids' version of like the Cornetto trilogy. So I want it to have that kind of feeling.
Okay.
So so it's British. It's fully British. It's got story to it, but it's mostly humor, like, and silly humor at that if necessary. So some kids moving to a new area, maybe Americans coming over to England for some even more sort of fish out of water shenanigans, and they start to make friends at a new school. Not really, so they're having it actually is probably better if Americans come over. They're having a welcome, sort of a we're here kind of party, and some kids have come round, and they decide that they will sleep over in the pub that their parents have bought. This is even better, definitely Americans. They come over, they bought a failing pub that's ramshackle.
That they were tricked into buying. They thought it was going to be like amazing, but it's like a real horrible pub on its last legs.
But they're making the best of it. They're making the best of it, as the Americans want to do in a film, and they're going to renovate it. But the kids are going to have like a sleepover in the scary pub for the night. And there's an old arcade cabinet still there, and it like flicks through things, and the kids don't know what an arcade cabinet is anyway these days. And and every now and again he keeps going ha 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 down the hatch, because that's like, and they're like it's an English saying, when we drink down the hatch. And it's going on all night, and eventually someone like one of the bigger kids like pushes the chest over, and underneath is a hatch. There's a trapdoor in the floor.
Okay.
And so they decide
under the machine that keeps squawking out down the hatch.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they go into the hatch, and under the hatch is this whole set of subterranean tunnels that, as they go through, they don't realise, but they're references to loads of 80s computer games, arcade computer games, in the form of like platformy type bits or traps, like barrels falling out of the ceiling, and they're having to like avoid them, sort of Donkey Kong style. And at the very bottom, once they get through all these subterranean things, and obviously they're bonding together, all these kids are eventually bonding together, finding their ways. Inevitably there'll be some kind of teenage crush thing going on, which might relive itself, and then they find something at the bottom, and I don't know what that is, but maybe there's another hatch down there, like an actual submarine, old submarine or something, like a Russian submarine that's gone under there. That's my pitch for it. And my director, I want to be Joe Cornish.
Yeah, okay. I saw Kid Who Would Be King, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
I think that's basically what made me think he could do something like this. Do you know what I mean? But with like the Ant-Man humour. Mm-hmm. So it can, and he's worked with Edgar Wright, hasn't he? What did he write with Edgar Wright? Did he write Ant-Man with Edgar Wright? Is that what he wrote with him?
He did write it, yeah. Neither of them directed it, but they wrote it.
No,
they
wrote it together.
And he's part of that sort of whatever they're not whatever Rat Pack, whatever pack they are. The 3-pack of
English
cornettos.
Brunch, English breakfast.
Bunch. What were all these mixed cereals called? When you get the tiny mixed cereals in a
variety
pack.
That's it. There's a variety pack of directors and writers, aren't they?
I love it. But like, so that it's got that kind of, spaced Cornetto trilogy kind of stuff, like Hot Fuzz, but for kids, like a kids jokey thing, which I think he could probably handle. He probably writes and directs it, to be honest.
Okay.
Again,
what other actors are we going to see in it? If it's going to be a British Cornetto trilogy, we're going to have to see some.
I don't know, because I think it's young kids. So I think it's like 8, 9 to 14, no older than that as kids. So they're probably going to be some actors that we haven't seen before.
So is it going to be like when I saw, like, I think her name's Maya. I'm going to say it's Maya Hawke, and it's Ethan Hawke
right, isn't it? Yeah.
and Uma Thurman's daughter, and she looks and sounds like this fantastic hybrid of both. Like, it's just, you could not have spliced the genes better in half. So like almost like these sort of the children, we'll be seeing the new generation, won't we, of these performers. So we'll be seeing the children of, if Simon Pegg's child wants to go into, acting, that's who we'd have in there. So we'd have the children of these performers and stuff like that. That would be kind of exciting.
You're going to get ex-Ash B-12 bomber super plane Elon Musk kid in there as well.
Is that their name? Yeah.
Get them in there as well.
You'd have to, as a cameo. I love, just as if we're talking about adult actors, I love the guy from Kill List. I love I love the guy who plays Tyres from Spaced. He's in Kill List, but I mean the main guy from Kill List. I can't remember his name, but he is like, we'll have to do some Googling. He is a ferocious character if he wants to be. I think he was also in Utopia, the British series. Gareth, or maybe that was the character's name. But I think if there's a villain in it, I feel like this guy should be the villain. Anyone who's seen Kill List will know.
I think there should definitely be like a villain. Maybe the villain is a kid, or maybe it is a grown-up. Maybe they're searching for something under there. They find like some Navy SEAL or something trying to find this submarine or whatever. But I definitely think it shouldn't be high threat. This is definitely sort of lighter. So like even in the Goonies with sort of what are effectively the people from Annie coming down to as the baddies. Although, right, first my wife was like, "Oh, this will be fine," and then in the first 3 minutes, someone gets shot in the head in the Goonies.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it just took at the time, I think he's only just turned 4 at the time. Like, okay.
You're having to explain that to him, yeah.
Yeah, explain that. Why is he falling over, Daddy?
Why is he falling over?
Have some popcorn. So, yeah, it was... I wanted to have sort of a real, like, a family adventure movie, but one that kids will imagine is like our Goonies. Do you know what I mean? Or our E.T. The kind of thing is a family movie, but the kids really get into. Like, there's so much fantasy world there for them to really, really play into. So a relatively simplistic story, but with some big themes in it.
Yeah. Okay. Are we going to go sort of practical effects? Are we going to go VFX heavy? Like, how is it? Is it going to be big budget, low budget? Where does it fall on the scale?
I think low budgety. Like, I don't imagine it being big FX at all. Like, a lot more practical stuff. Partly because it's more fun for the kids. So I think in the interviews afterwards, the kids will be like, it's the best time they ever had. It'd be like being in, I want to say Funhouse, but that really ages me. But basically, like
Cat Sharp.
An interactive, for them it was just like filming it, like having a day out like a big amusement park basically, and having a really good time, the whole filming session for them. I want the kids to come out the other end thinking like all the reactions you see of the kids are genuine, like they've fun screaming when something's scary, and they're having the time of their lives when they're like bouncing from thing to thing like Frogger. Do you know what I mean? Like from lily pad to lily pad. Well, and I like that idea.
Could I maybe suggest that, like, as a directing style, and this would be interesting, to have it almost like that documentary style where their kids get put into like a Frogger room and the whole thing is like shot like them trying to actually figure it out as kids.
I like the idea of like maybe some GoPro action. Maybe one of them's got a GoPro, so it's set. It's
bit of a Crystal Maze vibe sort of thing to some of it.
Yeah.
Because that's where the money is, right? You spin it off into like an or Universal theme park or whatever attraction.
Yeah, it 100% becomes like a theme park zone that you can get involved in, for sure. for sure. And you actually have to go down the hatch to get into the world. So the queues you end up going down.
Because I don't know if you've if you watch, there's lots of things to be said about the Hobbit films, far too many things than we have the time to discuss right now. Both good and bad, but a lot of material to cover. But if you notice in the second one with the barrel ride, that feels a lot like a Universal ride. And then, lo and behold, a few months later, it was unveiled as Universal Ride. You sort of think a lot of these decisions are sometimes made in tandem, and even in the writing process, it's they're sort of seeing what they can slip in there.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe there's a level of sort of escape room thing in it where they find there's a big hatch underneath, like with massive keys they have to put in, like a big safe. There's so many versions of hatch in this, it's unbelievable. Right? So there's the hatch there, the hatch to go through, and then it leads to a hatch of a submarine. And maybe they can't get out as well. Maybe the submarine's their only way out as well.
Yeah.
Some kind of
Neil Maskell. I'm sure his name's Neil Maskell. That's the guy from Kill List. Right. So he plays the friendly. Yes, he was. He plays the friendly submarine captain. Right, now I've decided he should be friendly. It's rewritten. He's the friendly submarine captain who helps them get out there.
And you're really worried because we know him as like sort of rough as houses. And when you see him, you're like,
but actually he's a salt of the earth, like sort of thing. He's going to help them out.
The kids get out. Yeah. Maybe some final sacrifice. To let them get out, which you think is a sacrifice, but it turns out because it's a kids' film, it's not a sacrifice.
It's not a real. Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, don't worry. You don't have to leave the cinema having to explain why somebody fell over at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
No submarine captains were harmed in the making of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I like the idea of like trying to build in as many sort of, not as many, but a lot of 80s arcade cabinet ideas.
Well, it would be almost like nostalgic in an intelligent way, not like the way that the Spielberg one based on that book. I don't even care. My brain doesn't even care to remember the title of it.
Ready Player One.
It would be almost like kids these days, in inverted commas, encountering older tech and older ways of living for the first time. That's kind of interesting to me. Like we were saying in the last episode, kids who don't know. That there was an Aladdin that was Robin Williams, the genie was Robin Williams before Will Smith. Like there is a whole generation of kids that we take for granted that we know this information.
There's that great YouTube video of the parents getting their two teenage kids. They say you can have a new I think it's PlayStation 4 at the time, if you can dial our number on a rotary phone.
Yes, I've seen that. That's fantastic.
They don't know how to do it. They're just like picking it up, like prodding it. They just don't know what to do with it.
But that's an amazing, that's an escape room for young kids. Figure out how people lived before you, stop taking things for granted, start understanding.
Are you on your porch shouting at the sky? But this is a great escape. I'm going to have to start doing it, because you could have like a message played to people, to play people on an unwound tape, and like a pencil in the room. We all know what to do. But no one else does. Anyone under the age of... I'm not even going to tell, in case there's someone under the age of 15 listening to this, why are you? But thank you. But I'm not going to tell you how to make that tape wound up.
Yeah.
You could sort it out yourself.
I'm getting more and more into this. Now that I've found something I can grab hold of, disdain for the youth.
For the young.
And I don't just mean like the young, like we're all young. I feel like there's now, honestly, now like you look at the younger generation and you think, or like there's possibly, I don't really know how generations work. It feels like there's two. There's the younger generation, and then there are kids that are born that don't know a world before their world. There's they don't understand 56K modems. They don't understand how hard it was for us to live through technology being birthed in its modern form and sort of raising this foal as its legs are tottering. We're sort of learning about malware. We're learning about like viruses. We're learning about things the hard way. Texting with a BT Cellnet phone, A, B, C, D, E, F. We're texting, trying to get, and it's 10p a text. So if you send 10 messages, like you have to make sure the content in each one is good, because you only have 10 quid credit on the phone. So it's like you can't just you've got to.
I was talking to some of my students the other day about how this lockdown's obviously been quite hard on them, and it was like they were like getting a bit burnt out. I can't really talk to any of my mates, and I'm like, when I was at university, to speak to my girlfriend at the time, I had to arrange a time to talk to her the night before, go to a payphone, get her to call me back on that number, and then talk to her on that phone.
Yeah.
And if she wasn't in, that's it. I didn't talk to her for another 24 hours. That was it.
Yeah.
And they didn't believe me.
None of these 2 blue ticks. It's like, I don't have credit. Was like, you understood that. You were like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. Of course you didn't. You didn't have credit. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yes. So yeah, I sort of find that they're sort of, forget, like, if the first Harry Potter, we forget that it's them going into 3 rooms at the end and doing some really arbitrary sort of puzzles, right? But if we were to make those puzzles like quite meaningful, and these escape rooms, these puzzle rooms, these journeys that they went through were meaningful in some sort of relatable way to the adults as well. There is something in that, I think. There's,
so the adults will be shouting at the kids for getting it right. So maybe it's a set of, like, effectively a set of an escape rooms. Once they've gone down the hatch, they have to keep escape, which is Indiana Jones, which is every sort of family adventure movie, isn't it? It's just that sort of thing.
I've got the end of your film, Dan. I've got the end of your film. The last room that they get into is Tapper, right? And they learn how to run the pub, and then they help the parents. Like, maybe it's not it's child labour then, isn't it? But you get what I mean. It's like, they help them, like.
I looked away for a second to make some notes, and I looked back up, and Ryan's talking about child labour.
But like Tapper, like the last one being Tapper is like the key to making this rundown pub work again.
Absolutely. Maybe all of these adventures that they've had give them a sense of what
like
they could
with Mario
the theme for the. Yeah, the theme for the...
and Donkey Kong with the barrels, it's like the dad's someone's trying to lift the barrels up, and he's like, no, put it on its side and you roll it. It gets much easier.
Down.
Yeah.
All the beers are rolling down like the Donkey Kong.
And,
love it.
Yeah, little things like that.
Well, there we are, Sean. That is Down the Hatch, the British version of the Goonies of our generation, the British version.
So at this point, in the break, before the Dupe gives us their idea for Down the Hatch, it leads me to invite Dan to tell everybody what happens at the end of this episode.
That's very kind of you, Sean, to give me some extra time on the podcast. So all of these per episode, Sean will inevitably pick a winner, and I know he hates having to pick a winner, and that really any of them could be winners. We're all equally losers and winners. But the winners of each episode go through to a heat, which is adjudicated by a very special guest each time. And so the 6 episodes before each heat get whittled down into one. And then at the end of this season, we will have 4 winners from the heats and 2 wild cards that will be voted in various ways. And they will fight it out to the death to be left with the winner of season 1. Which, Ryan, what's going to happen to it?
We're going to immortalise their film forever as a trailer.
Pulling in all the talent we can find.
Having to do this.
It is.
Yeah,
we did a
really
projection.
Hilarious idea. when we came to
We are now 9 episodes away from that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. You're going to tell us how many weeks till Christmas in a minute, aren't you? How many? Oh man, yeah. So it was all a big joke, and I think when we were talking about this, I even proposed that we do more, or like we make it into a film or something absurd like that. And it was other people that tempered me down to a trailer, and now I'm thinking like, yeah, we actually have to make a trailer out of whatever wins. So, and the winner is decided by the audience, so people will vote on the ideas we have in the final. That will be the one that we turn into a trailer. So yeah, that'll be fun. It's I left a little break there in case we wanted to take anything of that out. It's also, we're recording this day before Valentine's Day, so that's why you can maybe hear a little bit extra noise. Like if you do hear a little bit extra noise, it's because our various partners and families and everything are gearing up for Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow. Now, I think
actually my wife is just packing my bags, actually.
Because you're spending too much time, on Slashdupe. That's the commitment. Go to the Patreon and save Dan's marriage. It's £1 a month to save Dan's marriage. All right, £5 a month if you want to save my relationship. I've only got a fiance, so I could get rid of her, get another one. It's fine. But give £1 because Dan's already got married, and that's quite a commitment. So yes, Valentine's Day. Actually, when at time of recording, it will be tomorrow. But by the time you listen to this, a week would have passed. So I'm wondering if Ryan, the dupe, he's had a little bit of time to think of an idea for Down the Hatch. I'm wondering if he will lean towards a sort of Valentine's Day appropriate idea, or whether he's given us something to take our minds off of Valentine's Day, something different. Ryan, your idea for Down the Hatch for Slashdupe, please.
Thank you, Sean. So Dan highlighting my working methods earlier, did come up with a couple of ideas. One was a drinking story similar to Thunderpants about a kid that can drink anything. Then I thought maybe of like a horror movie where like a hatch appears, almost like a sinkhole, but people just start throwing trash down it and it disappears, and then someone ventures down to find out what's in there. But as you alluded to, Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Ryan is single. Hit me up on the Slashdupe if you want to date this hilarious boy.
What?
But I've gone for an idea for Down the Hatch that does follow a romantic storyline. We're going to open with a horny teenager in biology class, who's sort of like...
You must have dug deep to find that character, Ryan.
Definitely.
Okay.
Past experiences. I went down the road of like the horny teenager. So they're sitting in class. It's coming to the end of the year, right? Prom's round the corner. They're almost out of sophomore. I don't know what the American systems is. The pressure of prom night, all that kind of stuff. Learning about how like rabbits get it so easy. Why can't we do it? But he's relatively sort of stares down the corridor at the beautiful girl that he wants to ask to the prom, but hasn't had the chance, doesn't think he's worthy. And he gets home and his parents are like frantically running around the house. They've just had like the best news ever, and it turns out that they won a Valentine's holiday off of a radio competition, and it's the first time they've been able to take a holiday in years because of like their situation. So they're like, oh, but it's only the two of us, what are we gonna do? And they're like, I know, we'll just like the neighbor next door, she's not doing anything over Valentine's Day over the next couple of weeks, we'll just ask her to look after our kid for us. So the kid gets stuck in with the neighbor, and she's a lovely single woman, and it turns out that she makes potions.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, oh well, like, can I get a love potion for this girl so that I can ask her to prom, and she definitely won't say no and all this sort of stuff. So she's like, yeah, absolutely fine. And he's like, oh, if you do this for me, I won't tell anyone that you're making potions, like illegally being an alchemist. And and maybe like it, he like walks in and it looks sort of like maybe like a meth lab, and he's like, oh my God. But then she's like, no, I just make holistic medicine or something like that. And so she's like, okay, I'll make you this love potion, but you need a piece of this girl's hair. So then, oh
God, glad you finish that sentence.
What, a piece of her skin, hair. No, it needs a piece of her hair. And so this is going to ensue a hilarious montage, probably with the music one way or another playing in the background while he tries to get a piece of her hair somehow. And always gets stopped. And then finally, like, he gets a bit off of her jumper, runs back to the woman. So she makes the potion, and she says, okay, if you drink this potion, you have a week, she'll fall in love with you. Down the hatch. So drinks it down the hatch. Well, sort of. Wow. drinks
Do they,
it.
like Yeva's idea? Does she literally say down the hatch, or
She literally says down the hatch. Come on, we haven't got all day. Down the hatch. I've got other potions to make. So she literally says down the hatch. So I'm going literally for it. That's our wow moment. But it has a secondary meaning. So as the pink smoke begins to evaporate round and we all get mystified, suddenly the kid is not there anymore. And the woman's like, uh-oh. And she looks down on the floor and the hair that he pulled was not from her, but it was from her bunny rabbit. So he's also having to go down the hutch.
Down the hutch.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's like, okay,
Ryan loves a pun, by the way.
Do love a pun.
He's engineered a pun into the title where there wasn't one initially.
So down the hatch. So he's like, okay, well, clearly she's got a bunny rabbit. I'm going to go pretend to be the family bunny, or I'm going to go and I'm going to like investigate, right, the house. So he goes to the house, and obviously because he's still under the effects of the love potion, the bunny rabbit falls in love with him as a bunny rabbit. So he has to like live his life pretend, and so she goes to the house, and like the parents, like she's got quite high achieving parents, so they don't even notice that there's a second bunny in the house. Like they just think they've always had two. And like the dog is really like wary of him, like he's always having to run away from the dog, and the other rabbit is constantly chasing him around, and he's trying to understand like what it is about this girl that he likes, and what can I do to make this amazing spectacle for her. And you'll have those like hilarious tropes where he'll like try and like, I don't know, like sneak into her bedroom and then she'll like throw him out or something like that. You see her in a towel and things like that, and it will be
see her in a towel,
yeah,
just the ankles though, because he can't
exactly and
like a Victorian peep show. Yeah.
But he learns like her family, they love her, but they don't like celebrate her wins. Like she's doing well, but they're not. They're too busy doing their own thing. They've got to spend 12, 15 hours doing what they're doing. So she gets a lot of her like love from her friends and everything that's going on, and obviously her bunny rabbits, right? That's the thing she really loves. Okay, so like the week's over and he's learned all of this stuff, and he's like, cool, I need to get back. So he runs away, runs back, turns back into his human form with the help of the neighbor, and then he goes to school, and he's like, I don't know, somehow over the tannoy or whatever, he masks his voice or whatever. He's like, my lady or whatever. For this week, I'm at the end of this week, I'm gonna ask you out to prom. But until then, I'm gonna like give you all these amazing gifts. Your secret admirer. And so all the knowledge he learnt as a rabbit, he like does all these beautiful things. Like she really loves Phil Collins. So like it's like
nobody really loves Phil Collins.
I know. yeah, but that's because he's going to come in and do a song on the thing, isn't he? He'll do like,
of course he is, especially if it's like a late 80s, like early 90s movie.
And it will
like
have.
it.
I think it will
dress
have that
as a gorilla and do the drum fill.
It will be like there'll be a moment where like he does something really amazing at like one of the school events, and then the gorilla will take his helmet off and it'll be Phil Collins. Like that's what it would be. or that would be like the gorilla from the rival school that comes for like the varsity game or whatever, and he's the mascot for them. But that's all this like crazy amazing sort of like, is it P.S. I Love You, where he like leaves all the trails of things?
Yeah, but he's dead in that, isn't he?
I know he's dead in it, but like that sort of thing, like all these really amazing things that she loves, like music that she loves, like things that she loves, and he's obviously, as a human, he's like sort of, no one knows it's him, and it's like breaks the school newspaper, like who is the mysterious thingy, and also like why hasn't, I'm just going to call her Jennifer because I can't think of another name. So they don't really know it's him. And then he gets to sort of be this amazing thing, but he sort of sees that even though he's giving all these amazing gifts, she's still a little sad. And he can't figure out why. And he goes back and speaks to the neighbor. And it turns out that the rabbit is heartbroken because it fell in love with him and then he ran away. So the final thing is like, when I meet you to ask you out to prom, like bring your rabbit with you. And that's not euphemism. I'm not talking about the vibrator. And so he says, like, it's just like, bring your. So the last thing he says is, bring your bunny rabbit with you.
Okay.
And he gets there and he she's like, oh my God, it's you, Jonathan. And he like brings the rabbit to make the other rabbit happy. And then they go off and, they go to prom together. But he realizes that in that whole time, it's more about sort of like love and understanding and celebrating and cuddles rather than the thing right at the beginning about being a horny teenager. And
it's more about spying on her with no permission to find out all the things she likes. So instead of asking her about them, you can jump her with knowledge.
The amazing gifts. Absolutely.
Or something or not.
So when the film comes out in the 80s or 90s, does it? It's a film, sort of film that is allowed to come out in those days. Because nowadays they make films where that happens and then the sort of gentleman in the film realizes that that's not how you actually make a connection with somebody, and he's often penalized, isn't he, for sort of like if it's a Groundhog Day loop, he's penalized for knowing too much about them, or if it's sort of if he's transformed into some sort of item or animal. If 13 Reasons Why can glorify suicide, then this can glorify stalking, definitely, and spying and
that's a.
It's going to say if you've been
that line in.
It's gonna. Hey, nobody said that these pictures have to be good.
Thanks.
So no, but listen. This is. I think I missed this, and I think it might be my fault. But why does the potion turn him into a rabbit?
Because he gets a hair. He has to get a hair.
No,
of
I get
hers.
that. I assume it's a love potion because it wouldn't have turned him into her.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's no, but it's. I don't know for whatever reason.
Maybe it makes her rabbit.
Oh no, sorry. It
would be, and then he has to talk to the rabbit, and the rabbit he can communicate with the rabbit, and the rabbit tells him all the same things.
So he gets the rabbit to spy on her instead, but because it's an unnamed animal and not a human, it's fine.
Talking to the rabbit, he spends time talking and looking after the rabbit.
Maybe he's really genuinely socially awkward. I mean, like to the point where, like, we've known people we've all had social anxieties of one kind or the other, but this person is significantly socially awkward. So actually, in doing this, actually talking to the bunny is the first person he's actually first thing he's been able to have a conversation with, and then having a conversation with this bunny, he learns about her, and it's like, but it's more about him learning how to converse, open up, talk to someone. It's even less about her than it is about.
I don't know. What's your take on this?
Well, how does he get to the rabbit? Was my biggest question, because
that's the biggest question.
Just some random guy coming into your house to talk to your rabbit seems.
Yeah,
I don't know. How would they not notice that?
With this revision that we're doing, basically, you're like, that doesn't make sense. It makes more sense when he was a rabbit, is what you're saying, essentially.
Then surely they would notice that there are two rabbits, or she would notice that she's just gained a rabbit.
Yeah, but like how
I love it though.
But like people bring stray cats in on the street all the time, and they love them even though they've already got a cat. She's just like, oh, two bunny rabbits. Well, one bunny rabbit brings me joy. So would a second one.
Rabbits become the class pet for a week or something?
Or he rabbit sits for her. She's the neighbour in the small cul-de-sac as well, and he has to rabbit sit because her parents are going away or something. And I don't know,
because there needs to be some way of accessing the rabbit that isn't just
the class
going
rabbit.
Into
the
her
class
house.
Rabbit thing is really good, right? The class rabbit thing's really good because then he can get it like after her, and then that's when the potion is, and then going back to, and then the rabbit has already done all the spying for him, so it's just like our government asking MI5 to be like, oh, tell us what you've seen. And then
so it's like an interrogation. He interrogates
he has to
rabbit.
interrogate the bunny rabbit, and then he cuts off his foot for good luck at the end, and then
maybe he's talking to when he starts this connection with this bunny who actually pays him attention, like the first person that really goes out of their way to talk to him because it's forced because it's a love potion, but it still starts talking to him, and in doing so, other people in the class maybe join him in talking to the bunny, and he learns about them. He learns a little bit of social.
He learns that they're all flawed as well. They're all scared about things, nervous about things.
He learns about the person that he likes from them as well, from social interaction and stuff like that. And then he learns to communicate with the person that he's interested in.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I quite like the idea that this rabbit is giving him the confidence and the social etiquette to actually, he then transforms into this more confident person, which would then make her like him more.
Yeah, exactly.
And then of course the neighbour, this single woman looking after this
the alchemist
teenager.
Just call her the alchemist.
Yeah, the alchemist. She says, It wasn't a potion in the first place anyway.
Yeah,
that's
probably
it was all inside you.
If it is that, yeah. If we're getting rid of let's just name Ryan's first draft Stalker Rabbit.
It's just
let's name it Creepy Stalker Rabbit. Is the first draft. Which I like, and now I'll have to reevaluate. And now I totally understand also why I'm still single. I mean, that's what happens when you try and shoehorn
to people's rabbits.
You try and shoehorn a Valentine's Day episode into this.
Yeah, weirdly,
I should have fucking stuck with Thunderpants. I'm just gonna go with that now. Right, a kid can drink anything down the hatch, isn't affected by it.
He turns into a rabbit.
He enters the Iron Gullet competition, and there's a whole bunch of different games that he's got to do where he's got to down a pint of beer, and then no, he can't do that, he's a kid. He's got down a pint of water, and then fizzy drinks, and it gets worse and worse, and he wins the Iron Gullet competition. That's down the hatch. There you go.
I thought you were going to say he would eat there's a key that
he eats the world's hottest chili.
Need to unlock a safe with all of the mayor's money in it or whatever, and he eats the key to the safe and or something. I don't know. I thought you were going down that route with it. I don't know. Anyway, let's not get off topic. You've already said about how you want someone to turn into a bunny and whatever and do all the bunny stuff.
No. We've had the rewrite now. So the rewrite is he uses the power of the class bunny to become less socially awkward to ask someone out to the prom.
Yeah, but it's how you do it though. The bunny definitely talks to him, and the bunny's voiced by someone what's the guy that did all the silly voices in the 80s? I can't remember what his name is. He always talks like that.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Gottfried. See, I only need to see the voice, and we know him. He's the bunny's voice.
Yeah.
And he's a sarky piece of thing. Do you know what I mean? And they have a funny relationship that goes on there. You know what I mean? So that's the joy. Boss Baby. I love Boss Baby. That was a great movie.
Everybody shits on Boss Baby.
You do need a sort of Alec Baldwin type, or you do need a significant voice to this bunny rabbit, this cute little bunny rabbit. You do need it to have some gravitas, don't you? Al Pacino, the bunny rabbit. Anyway,
Al Pacino as the bunny
He'll
rabbit.
do it. We've seen his output recently. He'll do it. Okay, yes.
It's him not joining.
Yeah, he's not going to be the adjudicator, is he? Now he's going to pull out. Never mind.
Does he? Oh no, but he has to be, and then he'll see a donkey, won't he? And he'll be like, "That's a great ass."
Yes.
Yes.
That is a deep cut. A heat deep cut. That is. Oh god! Unapologetically, if it was on the strength of a one-liner, that's it. You've won. That's done it for me. But yeah, okay. Well, thanks for that, Ryan. That was a very interesting pitch and quite collaborative as well, which is what I love about /Dupe. It went through many different iterations. So yeah, thanks, Ryan. How do you feel where do you feel like it's ended up?
I've already resigned myself to losing this episode. So Dan, Ieva, well done. It's between you two.
You think that's bad? I've already decided. Well, we'll get to that. Okay, all right.
Not every, and this is maybe it's a life lesson for anyone out there who is pitching something or having to go to job interviews, having to do stuff don't be affected by the knockback. Sometimes you have to do a few shit pitches to be able to siphon some gold out.
Get them out.
Got to get them out, and
keep writing, keep putting it out there, and one will land. That's the key.
And it works the same way for Valentine's Day. Keep swiping right, and maybe one of them will swipe right on you.
Right, I will as I often do, as I always do. I will give a little summary, a reminder to everybody of just before I pick my winner, what we've had so far. Ieva's wonderful pitch, Down the Hatch, a mini-series where tourist children are led downstairs the basement of a curiosity shop where they are whisked away into these little worlds in bottles. And as if that wasn't enough, the twist is that all of these worlds, these sort of loops, these self-contained little universes, they all get smashed together, and in doing so, this darkness corrupts. However, within that, these children are able to find each other and support each other into finding the seeds that have created these worlds. They unite the seeds, and they manage to escape this dark fantasy world. We had Dan's idea for Down the Hatch. Again, what you would assume was close to Ieva's pitch, but actually it differs by being almost like a sort of, is it a children's film? Is it an adult's film? It's a fantasy film that spans both age ranges, and it's almost like a sort of Indiana Jones cross with the Goonies. It's a little bit racy. It involves the US and the UK. It involves, I really like the idea of going down into these sort of these puzzles and traps and going further down into this world down the hatch, but then it also having some sort of relationship with the parents, with the pub above, with the life that they're trying to start in a new country. So I very much enjoyed that. And Ryan's pitch,
just don't even bother, Sean. Just skip it. Just don't even bother, mate.
No, so
we'll chalk this one out.
What's wonderful about Slash Dupe and what's wonderful about the Dupe, because you're going off the cuff, you only have like an hour or so to come up with an idea from scratch and to give it a good enough pitch that we will enjoy it and poke holes in it in a pleasant way, but not in an unpleasant way. What happened is you started with a foundation that was one thing, and it left enough room for us to build and to add some of our own personal elements in it, which is what you want in screenwriting. It's what you want with creative collaboration. You want people to bring their own personality into it. Otherwise, there's no point in them being there. You might as well ask a robot to do it. So it's good that everybody adds their own flourish, and it becomes something slightly different. Whether it's better or worse, that's perhaps not even for us to decide. But I'm grateful that it was a pitch that was a great foundation and allowed us to sort of go off into a variety of different directions. And I think now, of course, we all know, and everybody at home knows, it's not going to be that pitch that wins, right? But it was undoubtedly the most collaborative, and it was the one that allowed us all to be able to sort of let our minds whir and think, well, what would we want to throw in and what would we want to take out? And that's, I mean, that's how Slash Dupe started, right? So for that, I'm very grateful. But here's where I'm at an impasse, and I would like to. So before, I have chosen two ideas to win, and I merged them together. I want to ask both yourselves, Ieva and Dan, and I'll get to you, Ryan, in a moment. If we took the pub and I think I have a way to galvanize the two ideas. They go down the hatch, and each of the worlds in the bottles are the puzzle rooms that then merge, that they then have to come out of. Each world, each bottle has the story in it contained, with the seed is one small part of the whole, and then they pull that out, and there's something in that I genuinely love.
It's like a special wine cellar underneath, and when they get to the wine cellar, they pull out the bottles, and each bottle's got a world in it, and they get sucked in.
That's.
And they got to work their way.
I mean,
absolutely.
Is that all right? Because I see, if I can make you both winners, I feel like you can genuinely keep. This is the thing: you can genuinely keep almost everything that we love of both ideas, is what I think. Anything remaining is the fun part, stitching them together, finding out like where it differs and where it's the same. Before I fully cap off and crown the two of you as winners, I want to give Ryan an opportunity, because I did try and do this myself. I want to give, you may have a spark as to how your idea can get thrown into the mix as well. And I don't know if you do, because I don't.
I'm just going to take the L on this one. I'm out. I'm just going to take the L on this one. I'm already in my car driving home, listening to the script, and you know, and that's it. And then and I can hear my wine bottle already opened for me. So yeah.
Open it. That's the new world. You get sucked in.
So if I was going to take both these ideas and say, hey, you guys are cool, you guys should write it together. You should merge the two ideas like they sometimes do in Hollywood. I would love to see an adventure type movie, and I've never seen this before, that takes and perhaps I have and I don't remember, but that takes the parents of two or three different sets of children and the children into the adventure together. Now, this may have occurred and I just haven't seen it. It may be fairly popular and it hasn't gone into my brain. But I saw that can have a lot of good dynamics in it. When you meet other kids, the kids that your kids are playing with, you meet their parents. Imagine if you had to spend an entire adventure with them. There's a lot of dynamics where the parents are acting like children themselves, right? And their children are acting like parents in many ways.
People have taken over the pub, have brought the pub in together.
Yeah.
They've gone in on it together, and then they find this bottle and they get stuck in. So it's also how they work out their dynamic of working in the pub, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Like, say, the adults and the kids. Because
I've been reading A Place of Refuge, and it's about community, and I was thinking, they talk about how their children were raised in the community amongst all of these sorts of people who've been in and out of prison and dealing with addiction, other sorts of tendencies, and they were completely open about everything with them. And I thought, well, that's really fascinating and interesting. And we sometimes don't give children enough credit, and often they're like an equalizer between between adults, and they can also sort of remind adults of their higher functions as adults. So I think it's that in an adventure movie, in like a sort of Goonie style adventure, I would find really interesting. Maybe it has already been done. Happy for someone to throw them in the comments. But yeah, so that's my one note. I would be like, right, that I love that. Right, throw the parents in there and let's see what's cracking. But yeah, so I hope you guys don't mind. Ieva, I hope you don't feel like you've been cheated out of it. Dan, I hope you don't feel like you've been cheated out of a win, because my brain goes, I feel like putting them both together, you find something new that we've never found before and we'll never find again. So I'm grateful. I'd be grateful if you wouldn't mind me crowning you both winners for this episode.
I would graciously share the spot with Ieva's amazing idea and my arcade cabinet.
Shell of an idea.
Shell of an idea.
I absolutely love the game idea, so yeah, absolutely.
Ieva, you have evidenced by all of the amazing sort of reams and of colours of yarn behind you. You have a sort of arts and crafts store, don't you? You have a special talent.
Yes, indeed. I make toys and various woolly creatures from yarn.
Mm-hmm. And they're mostly sort of what you do is you talk with you take commissions and you talk with people about what they want. You're collaborative, and you try and you'd work with them on the colours, on the design, and then you'd go off and you hand stitch. Is it called stitching? Knitting.
I tend to
knit these things.
Yeah, knitting and crochet, and mm-hmm. It's all customized, and we work together to create something really unique for each individual.
Like, for example, what was the name of the part duck, part octopus?
The Quacken.
The Quacken, yeah.
Nice.
The Quacken.
Yes. That's a Ryan level pun I can get behind.
It was, and I've seen it. So where can someone see pictures of these wonderful things? Where can they get a hold of you if they want to get one of these creations for themselves?
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram under Knit to Woo.
Nice.
Look,
yeah,
you and Rice should just get
power level
puns.
Just
pun this out. Yeah,
absolutely. I am very much a fan of a good pun. So yeah, knit-to-woo. And yeah, send me a message. We can work something out.
And I've seen some of the stuff you've created for people. They're genuinely spectacular, and I know how much hard work you put in. And I think when the world starts getting back to normal, people are going to want something to cuddle in bed or to share, to give to a loved one, to thank them for their support or something, during this difficult time. So, and I know that we do another podcast called Blood and Song. It's 8 p.m. on a Monday, Blood and Song on Twitch and on YouTube, and we will be running some sort of cross promotion with you because we would love to see some of our characters in knit, which is that what it's called? We want to see them in fibre form,
in yarn form.
In yarn form, yeah. So that'd be amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely work on that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd be great. Ryan, where can people find /Dupe if they want to get hold of us?
You can find us on all socials. That is Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are at Blood and Song. We've got a Patreon, Blood and Song as well. Nope, I completely said Blood and Song and not /Dupe.
You're doing Blood.
Wow, that is because I'm just.
He was smooth though, so smooth.
Do you want to leave me in again, Sean?
Oh yeah, I can just cut from after I say
I just so.
I know.
So
we've been promoting Blood and Song so much,
so much, and you said it earlier, and even in my head I was like, "Don't say Blood and Song, don't say That's what you can find us on all socials at /Dupe. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We've also got a Reddit community as well. Not a lot in there because we want you guys to start coming up with questions and new titles for us. We've got a Patreon as well. As Sean said, £1 to save Dan's marriage, £5 to save Sean's, £0 to save mine because I haven't got one. But when that goes in, that'll be £1 million. And yeah, so come along, join the conversation.
Yeah, we can buy you a bunny. Is that really what you want, Ryan? Is that what that whole pitch was for us to really?
No, because look, we've established, man, bunnies. I don't want a bunny spying on me, and then it's going to sell all my secrets to someone else.
Yeah,
fair play. Yeah.
So if anyone takes a PSA from this, lock your pets outside. Don't let them into the house. Don't let them watch you.
That's got to be how.
Not all ideas expressed in /Dupe are the ideas expressed by blah blah blah. Yeah. Right. Well, you think that's bad? I've written something that I want to say as an outro, which I never normally do. So, you ready for this? I wrote it down very quickly while I was waiting for a few people to log on. I think it's nonsense. So I just thought I'd forewarn you. Okay. Ideas are like trees in the woods, falling without anyone to hear them. They only really make sounds when other people are there to criticise, to bolster, to question and to support them. Without other people, ideas are nothing. They are just ideas. And so it leads me to thank those of you here for creating something more out of the ideas today. Thank you, Dan.
I am a tree.
Thank you, Ryan.
I'm basically a bush at this point.
And thank you, Ieva.
I am Groot.
Yeah. I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you all. Until next time, goodbye. Thank you very much. My stomach's been rumbling, by the way. Can you hear? I don't know how sensitive this microphone is, because I genuinely don't know if you can hear my tummy rumbling.
No, not
I feel like Winnie the Pooh when I talk about my rumbly tumbly.
Recorded in the Capo Studios, 2021. What's up, danger?